Hello, everyone. Welcome to City Hall. Good to see everyone. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mayor Williams. Mayor Williams.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton has an excused absence for today. Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Caballero.
Here.
Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman.
Present.
Councilmember Rist.
He's here.
He's here.
All right. Announcements.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for coming, everyone. I see lots of members of the community here. I love that. I know that this is often a really hard time for people to get here, and I want to acknowledge that the middle of the day of a work day is not always the easiest for folks to find childcare and to get off work, but I do appreciate when folks are able to come, and that includes folks that are listening online, and if you have to listen later, also awesome. Thank you for being engaged. I will be brief. I think we probably all have a lot to say up here, but I understand that folks are reeling from a interesting show that happened on Tuesday evening and early Wednesday morning, and that it is hard to stomach the number of folks who either support or at least give a pass to racism and misogyny. I'm really proud of Durham for the way that we showed up to the polls. I'm really, really excited about our two new bonds that have that passed overwhelmingly, and so we're gonna keep work up here, and that's what we would have done anyway. And I just want to validate folks who are feeling fearful or angry or upset. I think that there is a lot of uncertainty, but we are here to support y'all and let us know what we can do in that capacity. So thanks so much for being here, and thank you to my colleagues. I'll yield.
Thank you, Councilmember Baker.
Just briefly want to say thank you for all who are here today, for showing up, and thank you to the residents of Durham for voting to approve the parks bond as well as the streets and sidewalks bond just a few days ago. That was one of the encouraging outcomes of the election, and I think we have a lot to look forward to here at the local level. Myself and many of my colleagues and many throughout the Durham community are, while there were a couple of bright spots, are deeply discouraged by some of the events that and some of the outcomes of Tuesday. And we're just going to have to work together in solidarity to push forward over the next several years as a result of that. And also, it's just a great opportunity to look local and get involved locally. So I hope that there are some bright spots that we can look at there, and that we can see how all of us can work together to make the world a better place. So that's going to be my message coming out of last Tuesday. Thanks.
Thank you. I just really wanted to say thank you to all the city staff who did so many bond presentations into the Durham community for overwhelmingly supporting some really great projects that are going to make Durham a more walkable, bikeable, and enjoyable place. And I think that right now, the idea of a lazy river sounds really appealing, amongst some hard news for many folks. So I think and if I miss your name, I'm really sorry, but I think I'm going to name the staff because they're the folks who were really present in a lot of our presentations. Tim Flora from Finance Department. Thank you so much. Wade Walcott, Sean Egan, Aaron Covenry, Tasha Johnson, Clint Blackburn, Beverly and team, because y'all did amazing comms work, and Bill Judge. I think I have all the city staff who came and did presentations. Tasha Johnson, from Public Works. Thank you so much. You all really responded to residents. I really also want to thank our advocacy organizations who really stepped up and did incredible community engagement. Without them, they were the ones who were out talking to voters saying, please vote yes. So I really want to highlight the work of Bike Durham. our Parks Foundation, and the Chambers Foundation. They're the three organizations who were out there at every parks event through the fall, Barktoberfest, Fright Night, Bike Durham, knocked doors, put out signs. And so without their advocacy, we would not have gotten really excellent 75 and 71%. I think it is an excellent example of what can happen when we have a positive collective mindset in a community. And I think that we should be leaning into those values. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. I want to just lend a listening ear to the community in this moment and not speak as much. I know that folks may feel all kinds of ways, but the work is the same, and we have to remain vigilant about making sure that we take care of one another. I did want to make sure to congratulate all the candidates. I know that there are a lot of candidates across the state who poured in a lot of time and effort, and their staff and a lot of dollars. And it's important that we acknowledge that, you know, democracy is based on the vote, and that those voters who come out and vote make a difference. I did want to encourage folks to make sure they put their mask on first, just acknowledging that I know many of us will stay on the grind and keep working. But you do have to take time for yourself to make sure that you're good and you're ready and you're prepared to do what's next. I know that over the next week, year, month, and many years, that we'll continue to do what we need to do. And I want to make sure that I share my focus is still on Hayti and other historically underserved and unserved communities, our youth, and folks with concerns around out-of-school supports, and making sure that our business community has capital access, and that our seniors and people with disabilities or different abilities have what they need. And I'm looking forward to having more engaging conversations with folks in the community who have regularly organized meetings, have an organization, or can provide resources. Really trying to figure out how to make sure that they're highlighted, maximized, and engaged as much as possible. I want to thank the group from Racial Equity Task Force, I guess, or Equity and Inclusion, I should say, for this lovely handy dandy handout that they've shared on equitable decision-making, and making sure that our staff and folks in community have access to the resource that makes it really simple to actually create more equitable decision-making as you're moving forward. And then I just want to be really clear in stating that I am not the same person I was in 2017 and 2018, and I will not be the same person in 2024 and 2025. And so just noting that very clearly, we are all different than we were before. You can't unsee, unhear, undo what has been done, but you can do things differently. And as we move forward, I hope that everyone will take a stab at that and really figure out how to do things very differently. Be active, be present, beyond just voting, and engaging on a consistent basis with your local elected officials, your state elected officials, and your national elected officials in a way that makes them more productive. Push folks to do what they need to do. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Madam City Manager, colleagues, staff, residents, and those online, good afternoon. I want to echo a lot of the comments that my colleagues have provided about the election. Certainly not the result that I or a lot of folks wanted, but we simply got to pick ourselves up and put one step in front of the other as we move forward in our community and our nation. I want to thank everyone for exercising their democratic right in voting. I also want to lift up all the folks who worked hard to pull out the vote in Durham. And that includes folks like my 89-year-old mother, who spent like every day early voting and even the day of voting in the polls, working her tail off. So appreciate all those folks who worked hard to get the vote out. That's also part of our democratic process and our obligations and opportunities as citizens. I also do want to thank, in addition to the staff that my colleague, Councilmember Caballero mentioned, who are so strong and so dynamic and so compelling in their presentations about the bonds. It really made a big difference. And again, I want to thank all the folks who are here and those who aren't for that work. I also want to thank the mayor for his leadership on this, and also Councilmember Caballero for really being the quarterback on the council for organizing a lot of the work that we did as elected to support the bonds. So can't thank you enough for your leadership on that and the time you spent on this and the signs you put out and all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much for leading that work. It's a really exciting development for Durham. It's a big investment, $200 million in parks and streets and sidewalks, and I'm excited about that. So thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And Councilmember Caballero really the quarterback counsel on this, and she has not taken a lot of highlight on that, but I've seen you work. And as I said in the email, thank you, and thank you to all my colleagues for the work that we did to be available and accessible to our community members, being able to ask questions and just show up and do presentations. Thank you to the staff. Folks usually call me and say, hey, can we get a presentation? But it's the staff that was always ready, even at the last minute sometimes, that was able to answer all of those questions. And so I'm just really appreciative. All politics are local. All politics are local. And despite, I don't want us also, I don't want us to take lightly what happened on Tuesday as far as the election. But despite the outcomes, it is up to us to dial in, and it's up to us to, I would say, if it didn't turn out your way, then take some time to grieve, reset, recharge, and get back in the game. I want to say to Black folk, you showed up and you did what you had to do, and I appreciate that. I know in elections, we break down into composites of segments of the population, and that's how people start to see us. But Durham showed up. Durham showed up, and everybody in Durham showed up. And the reason why I referenced Black folks is because as a Black man, I was told that, Black men are not voting, Black men are not involved, and Black women, this and that. No, they showed up. And when it comes to Durham, all of us showed up. Even CNN mentioned that. They talked about how Durham boosted this state. And so thank you for doing our part as all people. I think many of you all know how engaged I was in this election. That's because I believe that we have to do our part. And I am unapologetic about that. But there are a lot of silver linings that we could really build on. And I'm not going to get partisan in my public space, but breaking supermajorities from one party or the other, it's broken. And getting leadership that really reflects the interests of this city is very important. And so there are some things that we can be very hopeful on, but no matter the outcome of any election, there is a message that's sent one way or the other, and it's up to us to interpret that message. But let me tell you, I look in the faces of the people of this community, and it still gives me a lot of hope. Actually, I'm more fired up than ever before. Okay. And that's what we have to do. We have to do our part here. And I think that, just the way the dice rolled, I think Durham in North Carolina is going to be the textbook case study of how we move forward in this nation. So I'm proud of what we accomplished here at the local level. Okay. Before we continue on, Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. I just wanted to really just echo our mayor in saying I am fired up. I do want to just make sure to bring us to a very positive note in acknowledging that the great state of New Mexico, for the first time ever, for the first time across the nation, has a majority legislature of women. And I think that that's a positive that we should all lift up and hope and we can one day see here in North Carolina. So I want to know that, I want you all to think about that for a moment and figure out how we can do that here. Thank you. That's cool.
All right, I just want to say one more quick thing, because I also want to echo the mayor's comments about how all politics are local. And I don't think that we've done enough to shout out Councilmember Freeman's town halls You mentioned them at the meeting this week, and I just want to apologize for not shouting them out more because we have had our head staff coming into the community, talking with individual people in the most localized manner possible due to your leadership in organizing those. And I just want to say thank you. And I can see that that's sort of the future of where we have to be, right? We have to be engaging folks on that individual level, just like the mayor was saying. Everything is so personal. All of the politics are personal. All of our personal things are wrapped into politics. And so just want to shout that out. And I think you've laid a really good groundwork in that regard. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cook. And I will just add that that work is not finished, it just started. And so as the staff went out, it's now time to hear, which is why I started with the conversation saying I'm listening and knowing that, you know, there's no way to know everything. And the best way to listen, the best way to know is to listen. And so I think that it'll be great to have our listening tour as a collective council at some point. And so I'm hoping that that will turn about soon.
Yeah, I'll be there. The election is over now. I am, yeah. So I know Commissioner Alum and I were planning to do the same thing, but you are doing it now, so it's no need to recreate that. I think we all just need to join in and show up. So I totally agree. And I know the public looking up here see that this council, we can get fired up sometimes if we don't agree on everything. No body of government is going to agree on everything, but I want to appreciate my colleagues for reaching out and checking on me because folks knew how how involved I was. And, you know, I did not put out a statement other than, you know, my little all politics are local and thanks for the bonds. Yeah, it was traumatic for me personally. So I needed to take a day yesterday. And I'm still not ready today, but I'm here. And we have work to do for Durham, and that's what I'm going to get to. And we are going to get to it right now. Well, in just a second. Here we go. Screen went away. I'm not saying anything. No, I went, yeah. I hated myself the other night for saying that. I'm not even going to say what I said because we got out at 12 o'clock. So I'm not, no. And hello to my old neighbor over there. It's good to see you, longtime friend. All right, priority items. Madam Manager.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the Durham City Council. The City Manager's Office has no priority items for you this afternoon.
All right, Madam Attorney, you have one assignment. Come on now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. The city attorney's office has no priority.
Understood. I love it. All right. Madam Clerk.
And it's the grand trifecta.
All right.
Once again, the city clerk's office has no priority items today, Mr. Mayor.
All right, great. Well, I'm going to read hold on, let's one second. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and read the consent agenda and then I'll go to citizen comments. Item number 1, Durham Open Space and Trails Commission appointment. Number 2, Durham City County Appearance Commission appointments. Number 3, Human Relations Commission, appointments. Number 4, Participatory Budgeting Steering Committee appointment. Number 5, fiscal year 2025-2026 budget development schedule. Number 6, contract modification with Language Services Solutions, LLC for Spanish interpretation and translation services. Number 7, Durham Station Transit Center Improvements Project Authorization to negotiate and execute a guaranteed maximum price, GMP, amendment to the Construction Manager at Risk, CMAR, contract for construction services.
I'd like to pull that one.
Is that number 7?
And I want to pull number 5.
Okay. Number 5 and 7. You have it. Okay. Number 8, proposed acquisition of property for the GoDurham Access Maintenance Facility. Number 9, design build.
Sorry, I pulled number 8.
All right. Number 9, design build services contract with Columbarian Planners Incorporated for the Beechwood Cemetery Columbarium project. Number 10, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, Bridging Business Opportunity and Equity Project. Number 11, Janitorial Services Contract for the Durham Armory. Number 12, number 2024 Community Policing Development Grant Project Ordinance. Number 13, Street and Utility Acceptances. 14, Stream Vegetation Management Contract with Ripple Eco Solutions, LLC. Number 15, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, MS4 Inspections, SD 2024-09. Number 16, Contract Amendment Number 3 for SD 2021-06, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, MS4 Inspections. Number 17, Contract Amendment Number 1 for SD 2023-01, Drainage Structure Access and Stabilization. May 18, contract with ParkMobile LLC for the, jeez, my voice keeps going out. For pay by phone, for pay by phone mobile payment services.
I'd like to pull that one.
Number 19, fellowship placement agreement between the City of Durham and Fuse Corps for treatment plant energy efficiency. Number 20, award of construction contract to Carolina Civil Works Incorporated for groundwater treatment plant dewatering polymer system modifications. And just the public hearings that are coming up are consolidated annexation, Constitution Drive right away. Number 22, zoning map change for Vivo Living Durham. 23, consolidated annexation, Doc Nichols Towns. Number 24, consolidated annexation, Tri Creek. Number 25, zoning map change, Caring House expansion. All right, so those are the items, and the 5, 7, 8, and 18 are pulled. But now I'm gonna go to public comment. And the first speaker I have is Stephen Harris.
Usually don't move it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Harris. I live in Durham, North Carolina. I'm a native, live in the Trotter Ridge subdivision. And I've come to you today on behalf of concerned neighbors that have asked me to address this issue with the city and consider enacting a new city ordinance to protect homes and properties from damage due to nuisance wildlife feeding within the city limits. We've had a major problem in our neighborhood, and in neighborhoods without HOAs like mine, more than a dozen homes and cars have been significantly damaged by wildlife due to reckless feeding and subsequently overpopulation, resulting in over $50,000 in damage on my street alone. The damage is primarily from overpopulating the squirrels, chewing automobile wire harnesses and fuel lines, building nests in engines, attics, and chimneys. Hundreds of animals have chewed through metal, wood, plastic, all within a blast zone of neighbors that are feeding the animals. Over the past few years, we've made repeated requests directly to the individuals to cease feeding the animals, and they have refused. One person in particular has over 20 feeders in their front yard feeding animals, squirrels, birds, foxes, crows, including daily bags of peanuts, corn, and eggs. The majority of feeders are open feeders that are available to all wildlife at all times of the day. You can find a murder of crows that can be found in the yard, a small herd of deer and squirrel too numerous to count. We've had neighbors complain that they cannot do business from home doing Zoom conferences because of the noise that the crows make. We're also concerned about the problem with disease prevention and also major concerns that some people may take it upon themselves to go outside of the law and maybe try to poison these animals, which could just cause other major problems along the way. The North Carolina Wildlife Commission strongly recommends not feeding wildlife. However, they do not enforce this regulation within the city limits and let the cities decide to do the enactment of regulations on their own. Additionally, there is not a current wildlife officer assigned to Durham County due to being unable to hire people to fill those positions. We would like to request a similar ordinance that Raleigh has enacted to protect homes and personal property from unnecessary damage. We have researched other ordinances throughout the county, throughout the country, and suggest the following things to be considered. No open or platform feeders. No feeders on the ground to attract wildlife. All bird feeders must be designed to deter squirrels, crows, and other wildlife, with the exception of songbirds and hummingbirds. No more than 5 feeders per resident, and that is mainly because of the different types of feeders that are available. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. And Steve, it's good to see you.
Good
And
seeing you.
I have personally experienced a lot of what he's saying, and I know exactly the neighbors he's talking about. So, yeah, I get it.
Just anecdotally, on next door, there's a long thread that this is continuing in a lot of neighborhoods in Durham.
Gotcha. Next person I have is Grace Wakeman. I'm still on the list, sir, somehow, Steve. Hello, Grace.
Good
Welcome.
afternoon,
You have 3
Mr. Mayor.
minutes.
Thank you. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. Welcome, Council. My name is Grace Wakeman. I represent Trinity Avenue Presbyterian Church here in Durham. And I wanted to speak to my concerns about the state of emergency assistance and the rental crisis in Durham. So I oversee an emergency assistance program in our church. It's fully funded by our congregation of less than 400 people. Started out as a pretty humble program. Last year, I think we distributed around $18,000 to 90 unique families, mostly to divert pending evictions and utility cutoff. This year, however, we're on track to more than triple that. We've already year-to-date distributed $45,000 to over 200 families. The things I'm observing that are prompting me to come here with a concern is that we partner with Entry Point Durham and several of the organizations that are protecting our unsheltered or shelter threatened. It's come to our attention recently that Entry Point Durham is out of funds to provide housing for their clientele. So we are trying now to absorb a lot of that, the fallout for people that they're not able to secure housing funds to get people off the streets into homes or to keep people in homes. I also recently was working with a client, and the other thing that's come to our attention that's really concerning is I believe the Durham Housing Authority has used up all of their housing vouchers and aren't giving out any more housing vouchers. Again, we're trying to absorb by providing rent deposits to get people into their homes. I recently worked with a client who had fallen behind on their rent, and she was so confused because she felt she hadn't missed a payment in 5 years of what the problem was. So she actually brought her rental ledger in and a letter she received from the Durham Housing Authority that does her annual lease amendment. And she received a letter dated July 19th for a reexamination of her lease to adjust for August 1st. 362% rent increase is going from $169 a month to $780. So she was given less than 2 weeks' notice to absorb and adjust over $600 increase. I don't know what the context is around the rest of this situation, but I was just asking if there were any kind of tenant protections that oversee things like that, perhaps longer notice if you have to do an increase. So simply just asking if there was an ability to mobilize more assistance funds for rent and to possibly help Entry Point Durham out to the remainder. I think they're out till July 2025, and perhaps strengthen tenant protection. So we want to help as much as possible and mitigate any fallout, but since we're just donation-based assistance, it's not something we can rely on or sustain. So we're just asking for collaboration from the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Emily Wilkes.
Hello, My name is Emily Wilkes, and I'm the Associate Pastor for Public Witness at Trinity Avenue Presbyterian Church. And I'm here because, like my colleague, Grace Wakeman, I'm deeply concerned about the current struggles of renters in Durham, and I fear for how the situation of tenants in Cross Durham will worsen in the coming months. Between the two bonds, the upcoming county revaluation of property taxes, and the city and county's new budgets, we know that property taxes in Durham are about to increase significantly. And while I'm grateful for the existence of Durham's low-income homeowners relief program, nearly half of all Durham residents are renters. Landlords will increase rent as a result of these increases, forcing tenants to disproportionately shoulder the burden of the property tax increases. Meanwhile, renters do not have access to relief. Now, as you've just heard, Entry Point is out of funds until July 2025. However, our clients consistently tell us that everywhere else they've tried to access rent support is also out of funding. To make sure we're able to offer at least something, we limit our support to $250 per household per calendar year. Now, as a tax-exempt organization, we know it's our responsibility to use the resources we have to protect the most vulnerable in our community. We know that this is what it means to be a good neighbor and a true partner to the city of Durham, and would invite other tax-exempt organizations with resources to spare throughout the city to do the same. We also know that $250 once a year is insufficient to meet the needs that this moment demands. We are neither equipped nor designed to subsidize the city by ourselves. With the looming tax increases on the horizon, it is critical that this council is proactive in protecting tenants. We need your help to meet the demands of this moment. Ultimately, we're asking for three things. Please find funds for Entry Point's eviction diversion program to be used between now and July 2025. If you need some ideas for where to look or where to fund it, I'm happy to offer suggestions. Number two, rent assistance may stop the bleeding, but ultimately it's a Band-Aid solution. We need creative policy solutions. So one, strengthening tenant protections like requiring longer notice of rent increases, increasing landlord engagement to assuage the growing reluctance to accept vouchers in the first place, forming a tenants advisory board, find what you can and do it, and be as aggressive in your desire to end homelessness as you are in your development. And so to that end, follow the comprehensive plan, particularly on affordable housing. Please do not give away the city's only leverage to make sure more affordable units are built. You are beholden to your constituents, not developers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ozetta Frazier. Welcome.
Hello. I'm speaking for the partial group of PAC 5. This is just a few of our participants. in
So
PAC
Ozetta
5.
Frazier and crew.
Yes.
Laurel Street.
Laurel, yes, Laurel Avenue. I'd like to present and more importantly, get resolution to the Skid Row situation going on at the intersections of East Main Street and Stokes Streets. This intersection right off of Austin and East Main is alive with open drug use, drug dealing, and prostitution. These folks have made themselves comfortable sitting on the curb, drinking beer and doing drugs right out in the open. Sometimes they'll use an umbrella for privacy. Once I even witnessed a man defecating along the side. As a result, there has been property broken into, theft, and trash is always strewn about. A few months ago, people started congregating at the old Los Primos. I even saw a tent. Then suddenly they were gone, and they're still gone. People, this isn't a new problem, but what's new is the community of new homes a half a block away. I'm proud to be a part of this new community. However, our homes aren't just domiciles or dwellings. They're our investments, our legacy, and it's manifestation of our hard work and determination. It's our sense of pride because it really wasn't easy. We had to sacrifice and deny ourselves for the privilege to have our names listed as owner. As an active participant of the newly reestablished PAC 5, we want to see our tax dollars work. We need this area cleaned up from the loitering that allows this illegal activity. For over a year, PAC 5 have followed direction from leaders of the Durham City Police, but to no avail. PAC 5 needs this area cleaned up and made safe for ourselves and our families. PAC 5 needs to see action. Thank you.
Thank you, and I look forward to meeting with you all tomorrow at 1 p.m., correct?
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for being here.
Sure.
We'll meet in the conference room down the hall. I just text you, Ms. Burris. For some reason, it's giving me so much joy that we get to just focus on things local. Just, it's tough stuff that we have to figure out, but my gosh, I'm glad that we are engaging and that's to Councilmember Freeman's point, that's just how we're gonna do it. That's how we're gonna survive. All right.
If I could add to that, I do want to thank Pac 5 for being here. I live in Pac 1, across the street from Pac 5, and these issues have been part of the conversation I brought up on Monday night, and just acknowledging that there's a growing population of folks who are showing up who have no ties to Durham.
Yep.
And that is what is creating this issue. And I think it's gonna need to be like an actual policy conversation. But at first, this is, I mean, it's hard to see folks without homes or shelter try to navigate a space. It's like a million times harder to have to, I mean, they're navigating it outside of where they were born, raised, grew up, have connections, ties. It's one thing to be on the street a few nights, because you don't want to be in a shelter. It's a whole nother thing to not even have access to the shelter. The shelter list I mean, the waiting list is too long.
Yeah.
We're really like at a conundrum it's catastrophically becoming an issue for predominantly Black neighborhoods and Hispanic neighborhoods that have often been left out of, like, it's just out of the conversation in so many ways. Yeah, I just want to stress that this is something that I think we're really gonna have to pour some effort into, because it's not just on the development side. It's not
Yeah. Yeah,
this is a little different.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking tomorrow. And I think some of these conversations are actually related from what we heard today. So we'll talk. Let's go now to number 5. So thank you all for coming. Councilmember Freeman, we're on you.
Thank you. I just really wanted to pull this item just to make sure we get clarity on where the community conversations are in this scheduling, because I know we talked about it and I think the contract was discussed, but I wasn't sure if that was included in this scheduling or not.
So the community conversations are currently going on. So we have them, I think the council received an email with those dates. We had one last night, and they'll be going on through until Thanksgiving. So as part of the budget development schedule, we won't be having conversations during those months, but you will be receiving the report about the community conversations during your budget retreats.
And can you say when the additional ones will be? Because I don't know that.
Yeah, they're on our website. So we have one, I don't have them off the top of my head. We have one
And
in the next few weeks.
I just want to stress the same thing I stressed in the town hall meetings. Everybody's not online. And just acknowledging the experience of having your phone cut off and your internet cut off. You don't have access to any of the information in a real way that, it just becomes even more isolating. And so just making sure we're not just relying on online materials. People are not all online. That's a big thing.
Understood.
Thank you.
And yep. Okay. Okay.
I have those pulled up and I'll just go ahead and read because there's only 4 remaining. The next one is Tuesday, November the 12th. That's from 5 to 7:30 p.m. It's at the Durham County South Regional Library. Then we have one Saturday, November 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's at the East Regional Library. Thursday, November 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. That one's at El Futuro, and that is going to have all conversations conducted in Spanish. And then the last one is Saturday, November 23rd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that's at North Regional Library.
Thank you, Councilmember Cook.
All good? Okay, thank you. Next, we have item number 7, Moved by Councilmember Cook.
Hi, Gina Probst, General Services Department, and Sean Egan with the Transportation Department.
Hi, thanks. I was just hoping that y'all could, just for a little bit of clarity, talk about where this money is coming from and sort of the timeline for this project, just because it's on our, I know that's not the exact thing that's on our agenda, but another opportunity to talk about some cool funding and also cool projects that are upcoming.
The Transportation Department has led a lot of the grant funding as well as some of the other strategic planning, and I'll let Sean Egan address that.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. Sean Egan with the Transportation Department. So we worked with our partners at Go Triangle and the Durham County Transit Plan to look at some of the concerns that we'd heard from riders and the community about Durham Station in the 2020 and early 2021 timeframe. And we determined that we really needed to look at a series of improvements to revitalize the facility and address the concerns, things like canopy coverage. We get more inches of rainfall here in Durham than Seattle gets every year, and yet only 20% of the waiting area is covered. So we did engagement. We talked to riders about needs. We heard things like there should be restrooms out on the platform. Right now, most of our riders are making a transfer at the platform. They run in to the building to use the restroom. By the time they get out, they've missed their bus. And so what are other things that we could do? The walkways. Most of the platform right now is unimproved. And landscaping efforts have been unsuccessful there. So it's mostly dirt, and when it rains, it's mud. And we also knew that we were going to be growing our system. And we were at capacity where we're now setting up temporary bus bays for boarding because we have more activity than we have capacity for. So the Go Triangle led a design team that put together a schematic design that went from 20% canopy coverage to 80%. That improved all of the platform walkways, that added restrooms and customer information out on the platform. And that grew the capacity of the station from 20 bays today to 28 bays in the future. We submitted that in November of 2021 to the Federal Transit Administration with a request for $10.8 million. And we were awarded that funding in March of 2022. So at that point, we worked with General Services to get to a full design, and General Services recommended that we work with a construction management at risk firm too. So we brought them in early in the process. The project was originally thought to cost about $13.5 million. The federal would have covered 80% of that, with the local match coming from the Durham County Transit Plan. As we've moved through, costs have increased considerably. So we have worked with our partners at the Durham County Transit Plan to increase funding to close to $10 million that's been approved so far. We also allocated federal funds that are used for improvements that come directly to the city. We allocated $1.7 million of that funding to this, and we have a request that's pending right now for $3.56 million of additional Durham County Transit Plan. So that's primarily funding coming from the half-cent sales tax. So every time that you buy anything in Durham, half of 1% of that gets collected, and that has to be used for transit improvements. So this is the most important transit facility in Durham. It serves about 14,000 riders a day. And we have the opportunity to make this a signature project that our community will be very proud of, and a real demonstration of the importance that Durham places on transit. So we have gotten a staff recommendation for the balance, the $3.56 million. It went to the Board of County Commission work session on Monday, got a very favorable reception there. Went to the Go Triangle Finance Committee yesterday, got a very favorable. So we expect those final approvals to come Board of County Commission on the 12th, and then Go Triangle Board on the 20th. And that'll be the last piece of funding. So that'll bring the Durham County Transit Plan up to about $13 million. So we've put together city-controlled funds, Durham County Transit funds, and then the federal 10.8 million to be able to really make sure that this is, that we're giving our riders, 14,000 riders a day, the best project that we can.
Thank you. I really appreciate that because that's the station I bus to and often am walking in the mud. So I totally hear that. I was just wondering one clarifying question. You said 13.5 was the original amount, and then you said that has increased.
We're at about 26 now. We've almost
Okay.
doubled.
Wow. Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Ms. Regan, for that clarification. Just a couple of things. So thanks for your work to work with the county in this. I know we're expecting their additional 3.5 or 6 in their approval. So we look forward to that, and we appreciate the county considering that. I did want to ask about, I know there's also a RAISE grant that's part of the funding for this, right? No RAISE grant?
No, it was from the Federal Transit Administration Bus and Bus Facilities Program. So it was a competitive grant, but it had to be for a transit project, whereas RAISE can be any transportation.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
This is an FTA specific.
FTA, yeah. So, and that's money that the city has, or is that money we're expecting?
So the city, that was awarded in March of 2022.
Okay, so there's no concern with this new sort of administration change in DC where those dollars are secure?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I was going to ask about that, actually. How was funding 2016 to 2020 versus 2020 to 24 from federal infrastructure investment? And I know I'm not asking you to get political. I'm asking because this was pretty historic, getting funding directly to the municipality. Do you foresee, or I'm not even asking you to foresee, was it different 2016
So
to 2020?
the bipartisan infrastructure law significantly increased total funding levels. So for formula funding that flows to states and local governments, and it also added significantly to competitive programs like the RAISE program. So there's more money as a result of the bipartisan infrastructure law. There's more money available for state and local governments than prior to the current authorization, and that's authorized through 2026.
That was available to compete for, right? Okay, gotcha. And I know I have all the faith in it. I don't give a dang about the top line. I know we have amazing staff, so I know our applications are good. Go ahead.
Thank you. I know how important this project has been to Durham, and I know we fought and submitted an excellent grant to get that funding from the federal government. I'm not concerned so much about this project, but I am concerned about the 2 years remaining on the infrastructure dollars. Just because the formulas have increased and whatnot, can there be a clawback? If it's been authorized through 2026, does that even matter? And are we starting to think about that?
The structure of the bipartisan infrastructure law is a little bit unusual. They typically do a multi-year authorization, and then there have to be annual appropriations at the federal level. What they did in order to get more projects moving quickly was what they call an advance appropriation. So for fiscal year 24, you had available your 24 funds, but also your 25 funds. It's not clear whether that practice of the advance appropriation will continue with new leadership in Washington. There may be changes to that structure. What we've heard from USDOT is that they are working to get all of the current applications reviewed and all awards made by January 20th of 2025.
Thank you.
We have 2 of those pending.
Thank you.
Right now.
No, that's really important. Thank you.
Let me know how I can help. If there's any needs, just let me know. I'll do what I do. I'm just gonna pass the mic over to Councilmember Cook because I have you for number 8 and
Probably
18
me.
as well.
Yep. Yes.
So I 2 more items that are pulled. Those are yours.
Okay. Hey, how are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
So I was just curious about the process of looking for this piece of land and why this need, what we were missing, I guess, in our previous city property, why we could not meet this need. Because I know that we've recently acquired quite a lot of large properties. This seems to be sort of a storage facility. Just hoping you could talk about why we were looking for this, what we needed.
So we're, as we've talked about, particularly with the funding that's been made available through the Durham County Transit Plan for expansion of transit services in Durham, we're outgrowing our current facilities. So we looked at how to best manage the need for additional maintenance and storage facilities for our transit fleets. That was a study that was led by GoTriangle that started around 2020. What the study recommended was that since there was going to be significant growth in our fixed route bus system, right now both our fixed route and our access paratransit are co-located at Fay Street. What they recommended was that we relocate the paratransit, the access system, to a new site and then backfill that space with fixed route. So we would have one fixed route facility and one access facility. And so as part of that, the team began a site selection process to review sites that met the size requirements. Many of those sites were evaluated, and however, throughout that, when they got to the end of that process, none of the property owners were interested in selling to the city at that point. Yeah. So it left us in a position where we would be potentially acquiring using eminent domain. And that was not our preferred approach. So we had done all this analysis and looked at locations, looked at what would be the most efficient place to deploy the access fleet from. We had done analysis of neighboring sites on Junction Road. And then this site came onto the marketplace and was available for voluntary acquisition. And so no condemnation or eminent domain is needed for this process. So we also conducted a review of city and publicly owned facilities that were 5 acres or larger. And most of those, what we found was that those had been already identified for other uses, such as affordable housing.
Okay. Could you just go back to the current storage and say that one more time? You said that it was.
So right now, the big buses, the 40-foot buses, and the small access buses they all operate out of the same site on Fay Street. It's next to the General Services department out there. What we found is that we're at capacity right now for the fixed route buses. So rather than have 2 separate fixed route sites, the idea is to relocate access to a new site, and then that frees up a lot of the land at the current facility that can then be used for maintenance and storage of the large 40-foot buses.
Okay, those are my questions. Thanks.
Was that 18? That was 8. So 18, we have you, Councilmember.
You're good. Yeah, you don't have to come back up. I just wanted to say one thing very briefly, which is that I understand all of the issues that currently exist with taking cash at parking facilities. But I also want to just say, because I feel like I'm flagging this a lot and I want to continue to flag it, that we have so many Durham citizens who are not digitally literate. And so when we continue to sort of move these things away from cash, and again, I totally understand the issues with safety and the it's just a whole thing to move money around, and I completely understand why we're doing that, but I just want to continue raising this because it makes me feel really concerned that we're going to cut off populations from being able to access downtown parking, for example. And I see this a lot. Folks who are elderly, particularly, I feel like fall into this category. We actually have a pretty high illiteracy rate, generally speaking. And then I feel like when you add digital literacy into that, it is just amplified. Folks don't always have access to the internet unless they're on Wi-Fi. And anyway, there's just a lot of complications that go into it. So I'm just raising that flag. I know that this is not doing away with cash payments, but just want to flag it, and that's all. Thank you.
I'll just, if I could respond quickly. So this is providing more payment options for customers, but we will continue at our parking decks to have vending machines. We call them pay on foot stations. They're usually by the elevators where people can pay for their parking with cash. So that will not change as a result of this.
All right, so that is our agenda. I'm gonna pass it over to the manager to settle the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
Good afternoon, Council. I didn't report this earlier, so pardon me for that. We do have an open space and trail appointment that has not reached consensus. There were 3 votes for Alexis Seabell and 3 votes for Lindsay S. Bickersbach. And I wondered if somebody would like to switch their vote on that.
You can change mine to, well.
To Bach from Bell?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
DOS recommended Lindsay S. Bickersbach for the vacancy.
Oh, okay, so I want to go with, I want to go with the recommendation. I think
Okay, okay, that's the person who has the nomination.
Yeah, okay.
Durham City County Appearance Commission appointment. The 2 selected individuals are Allison P. Steele and Caitlin Wheeler. Human Relations Commission appointments, there are 2, Scott Brummel and Chandra M. Jones. And the final one, Participatory Budgeting Steering Committee appointment, at-large category is Samuel F. Thomas III. And that's my report.
Thank you. I just want to say one more thing. I know there's a lot of adjusting that we're going to have to get used to over the next couple of years after the election. I will be meeting with the school board chair and the county chair and just in our next leadership roundtable. I think that, you know, how we respond or how do we adapt to the new leadership at the national level is going to be a topic of discussion. I know that we're going to run into a lot of kids that are going to be worried about, you know, the rhetoric that's been stated. And, you know, I believe everything that I'm hearing at the national level. So I just want to make sure that we are preparing and understanding what our agility is at the local level and what, you know, our flexibility is and, you know, what levers we have to protect the folks that live here in Durham. So that'll be one of the conversation topics that I'll be contributing to at the table with our trifecta leadership here in Durham County.
I was just going to say that I think that's important. And then also at the national level, just making sure to be as active as possible in a bipartisan way with folks like the National League of Cities, even Local Progress, and I want to say the young elected officials. Like there are a lot of resources that can be brought to bear around these issues because it's not one-sided. I think folks, I want to be really clear to the general public, this election was not a rebuke of the work that we've been doing. It's actually very supportive. Those margins were very close. And so as much as the majority rules, when it's 49-51, there's a very slim space. There are 2 years till the next election. 24 months of our House and Senate, and things can shift very quickly if we all stay on task. I know that there's a local election next year, but there is, I mean, in a very real way, we can't lose sight of the fact that the work that we're doing is having impact. And though folks may be afraid, that does not mean we retreat. Thank you.
I feel like I think about this all the time. I'm just going to say it for the record, and I'm going to keep saying it, that I was just, as we're listening to these folks that are appointed to these boards, for those people who don't read these agendas in as much detail as we do up here, we, for all of these positions, always have a slew of really qualified people from Durham. And I know we've talked about it before, but we got to keep talking about it. It is incredible how much people want to be involved in their local government and the time that it takes. And so I just want to acknowledge that to everyone that doesn't get selected, please keep applying. We see the work that you're putting into these applications. I love reading people's resumes. It's so cool to see the just diverse expertise and passion that people have in the city. And it just makes me really, really excited. Thank you for everyone who applied. Keep applying. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, I have for your consent agenda at your next council meeting, items 1 through 20. And for public hearing items, GBA public hearing, items 21 through 25. Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Settle. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. All right, thank you all so much. We are dismissed.